Alright fellas, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to Bannerlord, helping you get better at Bannerlord through the use of advanced field command and tactics. And we are in an Aserai city here. This is QASIRA. I believe this is their capital, either this or Sanala. These are on the northern coast of Aserai territory, and we're going to continue this city and castle defense series. Now we have tier 3 walls here, we have solid walls, and we're outnumbered 3-1. We've got kind of a mixed army here against a very large army of Aserai. So this simulates large Aserai force outnumbering you 3-1 is invading your Aserai territory. What do you do here? We're going to try to come up with the defense strategy for this city. Now we've given them an excellent commander here, increases melee damage, and we will see first how the sergeant does here. It's been a little while since I've even been to QASIRA in a campaign. I think I sieged this once, but I don't think I've ever defended this for one of these episodes. It's a very unique inner courtyard. There's like a circular area over to the left. We'll take a little closer look at this and see what we got here. Of course, I need this first 60 seconds. Sometimes I could just skip these, but it's also, I think it's beneficial for you guys to understand my thought process when I'm looking at cities and castles, because it'll help you come up with your own way to strategize for city defenses and then extrapolate from there, right? I doubt anybody wants to watch 47 episodes of me defending cities and castles. This way, if you watch a handful of these, or maybe a very specific one related to a city you're having a hard time defending, it can be helpful. So there's one other Aserai city that I can think of that reminds me of this a little bit, with all the curved walls. Curved walls are very suboptimal for our strategy because you can't put archers in a line, and that has got to be like the biggest infantry vanguard I've ever seen coming with the ram. Now that's a problem because this left side might be more defendable. There's areas to put troops up here on these ramparts. It's a pretty good looking defensive structure, although again these curved areas are a problem because you cannot put units in a line in a curve. If there's any Tail Worlds guys watching this, and I highly doubt it, it'd be amazing if we could put guys in a curve. Now there's no room in the courtyard here behind the main gate at all. That's just not going to work for how we defend, and this might be one of the very few cities in the game where you're better off letting the AI defend. We shall see. We will definitely try some things. Of course, they're doing great so far. In fact, look at that. That's almost an 8-to-1 kill to death ratio. I would take that in a heartbeat. But I think that's going to change once this Juggernaut Vanguard smashes through the door. It looked like 400 or 500 heavy infantry, and I don't think that pitiful little defense force there is going to be able to hold it back. They're rushing reinforcements, but they're putting them behind the door. Get up! You almost want to yell at the AI, get up to the wall. Try to stop these guys. Now, I don't think the whole Vanguard went through the gate. They must have gone to the siege tower as well, because the original Vanguard was unbelievably huge, just gigantically huge. So they're pressuring the tower. And the AI did a serviceable job here. I mean, they're going to lose. They almost always lose, outnumbered 3-1. The blowout starts here on the left. It looks like some troops routed. The main gate is a problem. I'll give the AI credit, though, for this city. I would say this is an A- as far as the overall AI when it comes to cities. Very rarely in this series does the AI successfully defend a city outnumbered 3-1. And they got pretty close here. What does the enemy have? Like 230 troops left. So we'll see if we can beat that. This might be one of those cases where we can't beat that, right? The strategies I employ they're not compatible, by the way, with the AI. You cannot use like a hybrid. There's sort of a way you can do it, but it's not really effective. You can't really guard with the AI and run the micromanaging that I do because you sacrifice somewhere. Either you don't have enough troops to employ the AI strategy or vice versa. So this is really grasping at straws here. I'm going to put a couple archer divisions with hopefully high-level crossfire here at the gate, but to say this is suboptimal is an understatement. Look at that. That's our archer division here to hold back the guys at the gate. We can put maybe 15 or 20 to the left here. I'm tempted to just make a very small square here and then just try to defend that left area, which is a thing, right? There are some cities where you can defend a highly unconventional portion of the city and have success. Obviously, the AI lost here, right? So if you're outnumbered 3-1 and you let the AI run it, you're probably going to lose. I mean, unless you have a manifestly stronger army. I don't think all these archers can shoot, though. That's like the best I can do because of these very narrow corridors here around the courtyard. There's not a lot of room behind it either. I can't really put archers on the walls. Those guys will get smoked. This area over here on the left is defendable. I'm going to be able to get a couple squares at the base here. There's enough room in the courtyard there. I can get a couple division of archers. I can get 1 or 2 divisions of archers behind them on the upper ramparts, and they're highly protected. But I don't think that's going to work. We'll see. This might be... I know I've already said it a couple times, but it's highly unusual. This might be one of the situations where you're better off just letting the sergeants be in charge and doing the best you can. Now, I've got a few of these in line in shield wall. We will have to break those guys out. That's something that I do sometimes. Make sure that you break those guys out of shield wall formation. The concept is in shield wall, they're very tightly packed. However, anybody with a shield, which is all of the Aserai horse archers, they will remain with their shield out the whole fight. In other words, if you put archers in a shield wall and they don't have a shield, they'll be right next to each other and they'll shoot. Most of them will shoot. But if you have guys like sharpshooters in a shield wall, they won't shoot. They'll hold their shield up. And they're like, all right, I'm in a shield wall, man. What you got to do is tell them shield wall, and then very quickly, then you can pause, shield wall, and then you can wait a second. And then very quickly after that, line formation and stop. And that needs to happen within a half a second. Otherwise, they will shift to a line and spread out and fuck up your formation. I know that was a lot of talk to explain a little point, but it's important. You see these archers there holding up their shields. I'm going to have to adjust those guys. Same thing with here, and I'll show you. So you go line formation and stop, and watch these guys with their shield. They will put their shield away, basically. And see how they did that? And now those guys are back to being an archer. They're like, okay. The key is that they're tightly packed still. So in a line formation, they're not as quietly tight as packed as shield wall. In a line formation, they are. Same thing here. Line formation, stop, and these guys will whip out their bow. Again, you can see the shield, and away the shield goes. All right, let's try to destroy one of these siege towers. Of course, always important in a situation like this. But this is also juicy here. In fact, I'm not sure I can even hit that siege tower. This is tempting here just to try to kill 200 of these elite troops. I don't know why the Vanguard is so big surrounding the ram. I've never seen that many. It's like 12 deep and 100 wide. It looks like there's 1,000 guys sitting on the ram right now. And that's pretty tasty. It's hard to pass that up, right? Every shot, as long as you hit that packed mass of troops, it is just a huge amount of death. It's kind of hard to pass these up. And of course, that means the siege tower is going to arrive. But here's what I'm thinking about it. They're already going to be blowing open the gate here. It's not like if we have 3 entrances here, it's going to change things. They're going to blow this gate open. We're not going to be able to hold the gate. So we'll just try to do as much damage as we can with this Vanguard. And of course, here I'm showing you don't have to even look at the guys once you have the range down. Once you have a good feel for the range, you just lower it a little bit and fire, and you're gonna hit shit, right? We know it's such a thick mass of troops. It's kind of like I practice no-look free throws sometimes when I shoot hoops out in the basketball court. Eventually, your mechanics get so consistent that I can make about 70% of free throws staring straight down at my toes, right? It's the same concept in Bannerlord. Much of video games in Bannerlord is muscle memory. You know, whether you're playing online or playing against the AI, you understand exactly when to... Oh, shit! Okay, I'm going to switch characters here. That's hilarious. I start talking analogies here. And, you know, sometimes I'll just freeze a recording. We're just going to roll with this. I don't really want to start over here. So we're going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to use the RTS camera, take this new character. This gate is just going to... These guys are going to get destroyed. I guess we could just leave these guys here and see how they do. Throw the rest of these fireballs. We're gonna try to continue this episode though. Where'd the troops go? There's nobody at the siege tower. They're all over here on the ram. Okay. Well, we're gonna have a blowout at the main gate here, but I think what we're gonna do is try an unusual defense here. I don't think there's any chance. In fact, I'm sure there's no chance we're gonna be able to hold the gate. You have to have supporting archers for your square. If you're gonna employ this strategy, you can't have 20 archers shooting. You need to have like 100. Otherwise, what happens is they don't kill the guys attacking your square fast enough, and they beat the shit out of your square, and those guys are dead. In fact, it's very tempting just to torpedo the whole front gate, just to say, fuck it. Let's just take all these troops and get them out of here. But at this stage, it's kind of too late. Like the archers, maybe those guys could come out of there. There's some interesting space behind here, but you see this guy's not even shooting. He's just standing there because the line of sight is so narrow here. This is just not a thing. Half of those guys aren't shooting as well. It's just, you know, you could play with this all you want. Sometimes it doesn't matter. The other siege that this reminds me of is Razi. Razi is actually a little bit more defendable than this. This is one of the hardest I've seen so far in Bannerlord. And I know these guys are supposed to help you, so we're going to try to figure out some way. I'm a stubborn old fuck. I got a cold right now. You guys can probably hear the sound of my voice is a little different. We're going to try this shit over here on the left. So they can come through this back door, so we're going to have to get troops in this back door here and protect it. And then we just have to protect this right side. I don't think they'll be attacking us in the center there, although as soon as I say that, troops are coming over the center. So 1, 2, 3. They've got 3 different stairwells, maybe 4 that they can come down. The problem behind us here is I can't really get good flanking fire on the square, so that square is more like a cork. We're just corking the back of our defenses here while we try to kill troops at the rest of our locations. So this front area we should be able to do major mass murder because the enemy will stack up on these stairs, and we have something like 150 archers right here. We're going to provide a huge barrage. But the problem is behind me, right? If the enemy piles up troops in this little corridor behind us, we can't really attack those units, right? I can't really shoot at those units very effectively. I don't have the angles. I don't think I can put archers on the walls, the far walls there, which we could shoot across this gap because they have sharpshooters. And I'm pretty sure their sharpshooters haven't entered. In fact, I see the little number outside the city here. So maybe this episode doing you guys a little disservice, right? Every once in a while, I'll narrate for 15 minutes and just delete the file. Because I realize later on it holds no tangible value. You guys don't need to learn what doesn't work. Although some guys expressed interest in me failing or struggling with the situation and trying to overcome. There is something, you know, to humankind, how we love a very, very challenging situation and then overcoming that, right? Like that whether you're flying to the moon or trying to defend against 10,000 foes, you know, Bannerlord definitely has an element of overcoming great difficulty. So we'll give this a shot here, right? I can get a narrow division of archers with a little bit of strafing crossfire on these guys at the back. We can tilt that square towards our side here. This looks okay in the courtyard, but it's this back area that's just not going to work, right? I mean, that's 14 guys. It's not that different than the gate where we had 15 guys shooting. I don't know how many infantry are behind that mass of troops, but if it's 300, we're just not going to succeed here, and it looks like a lot. This might be one of those sieges where I have to help. I've brought up some reinforcements here. That might be messy, because as they join the square, they aggro troops. You see there, the enemy troops are Zergin, those guys coming in. We probably lost half those guys before they joined the square. Now, that looks good, right? Clearly, and this is what we were figuring, clearly the left is covered. There's archers point blank. Those guys on the ramparts there are firing point blank into the enemy's side. That could hold against 5,000. Over here, though, I just don't have angles. I'm getting attacked now. It's getting worse. I'm borrowing squares here. We're going to do a little slow-mo jumping here. I can't put the square down here either because they will zerg the archers instead. There's not enough space. I'm doing all the different calculus here, trying to figure out something. I'm probably going to have to pull that square back just a bit. I mean, we're getting some good death spam, but there's way too much red, right? We need a 3, maybe a 4-to-1 kill ratio at this stage to have any chance of winning. We're getting... The archers up there got destroyed, so there goes our crossfire. And I'm fucking getting frustrated. You guys don't see me get frustrated in the channel very often because we often have success, right? The AI is often manipulatable, exploitable. Here, we are just struggling to exploit it. I'm running out of resources here. We're getting cornered by angry Valandians. They're yelling Celtic explicatives at us, saying they're going to chop our head off as Aserai scum. And look, I can't put archers up here. Look at that. Those are all sharpshooters. Any archers I put up here to support, they will get smoked. In fact, I'm having 1,000 arrows and throwing axes thrown at me. So, I mean, there's temporarily good death spam here as my character gets shot to death. Now everything breaks down. And this ain't gonna work. So, what do we do here? That didn't work. The main gate didn't work. We could do a hybrid one, but if they don't hold the gate, which they didn't, that won't work. I'm just sort of thinking out loud. I've got one more thing, one more ace up my sleeve here that maybe will work. When I was looking at my archers by the front door, I saw a broad opening that led towards the inner dungeon. Just maybe we could get an alignment of archers that would be sufficient there for a kill box or for one of these death machines. We put defeat up there, battle lost. All right, let's see what we got going on here. There's an upper tiered courtyard. There's a marketplace back here. There's windows from that marketplace down to the lower tier though. Let's give this a shot. Same exact battle, and we're gonna punt the main gate. This is obviously a highly unusual tactic. I don't think this would work in a hybridized manner. In other words, if you had 200 troops and the AI had 200 and you let the AI defend the walls and you held this back area, I think it would still fail. I think this is an all or nothing venture here. We're going to pile a huge amount of troops back here. We're going to have some reserve archers in case some of the earlier divisions start to get mobbed. We can actually move up archers with shields and squares. 2, 3. I'm going to need at least 3 infantry divisions. I need a reserve, a backup in case one starts to get blown up. We'll be sharing infantry rather between divisions, and of course a pillar defense. If you've never seen one of these on the channel, this is going to be pretty interesting for you. Of course, a lot of the guys already anticipate what we're going to do here. You've seen this, whether it was at Poros in the amazing Aserai campaign battle. I think there's just enough space and bottleneck here, though, for this to have a shot, right? This narrow corridor, it impeded us, right? We couldn't put the archers there that we wanted to. Now, somebody might be looking at this and saying, put archers way back here. It's too far from the gate. They won't do enough damage. They'll do 5 each, and your squares will still die, even if you get 100 guys with line of sight. But if we can funnel the enemy through a narrow gap there and make the gap even smaller with some infantry squares. Now, my fucking guys here are running me over. Out of the way, fellas. You guys all smell like onions. Hurry up. It's not a racist joke. I say everybody smells like onions. Actually, I like onions. They just have a pretty pungent smell. You would never want to smell like onions. You're not getting laid. I guess unless your wife smells like onions, and then you just have onion sex. All right, I digress. All right, so we've got 3 archer corps. I think that can shoot. There's one compacted in the middle. The ones at the back, it doesn't hurt to have them shoot, right? Those guys can add their firepower. Fortunately, there's no friendly fire, right? This definitely wouldn't work with friendly fire. And I think these squares, if we can make these a little tighter and kind of jam them next to this guy's hovel, right? We'll just slam them against the wall there. They'll have quite a bit of protection. They can kind of hang out at the edge of the battlefield. And there's you want about a 10-foot area, maybe 12-foot area for the enemy to squeeze through. And what happens is with rare exception, they squeeze through all right, and they keep trying to attack the square because those guys in the square are attacking them, right? They don't like being attacked. The AI is very much like a pit bull. If you pat it, it wags its tail at you. If you kick it, it rips your leg off. The AI is fairly predictable in what it's going to do here, and I think this has got a chance of working. We can put this reserve division back here in a line, because if things go bad, we've got to be able to slam the door. These archers here, oh shit, I'm fucking fat-fingered these guys. We'll get these guys sorted out. So I've got this higher division of archers. They're actually shield archers, and I'm planning on using those guys if these squares start to wind down. This is a major advantage in siege defense, right? If you have Palatine guards and stuff like that in a siege defense, you have no versatility whatsoever with them. If you have these, what are these guys called? Like Mamluk Guard or whatever. These tier 4 and 5 Aserai horse archers are pretty useful, versatile units. Now, they're not great at anything. That's the idea. They're sort of jacks of all trades. But this is one of those instances where their strengths shine out. If one of these infantry divisions starts to break down, right, we've got shock troops in there and whatnot, we'll be able to add those guys to one of the squares here. And they're almost as good as like a tier 5 infantry. They're not quite as strong. They don't have quite as good defensive skills or armor. 700 infantry at the gate. But frankly, they're better than shock troops in the squares, right? Because your shock troops cannot block. So of course, point of no return, right? Fortunately, this is just a custom battle here. The campaign's not on the line. Let's see if this works first before you try this in your campaign. You got to have some cojones to try this shit. And it's not bad so far, but there's a fair bit of death. We might have to tinker with some of these squares locations or move these archers around just a little bit, right? Give them just a little bit of an angle. If there's guys at the back and there are guys in their way, you know, they're smelling onions and they can't shoot. In fact, your own character can be an impediment. They won't shoot. You can actually see the arrows flying over my head. So one thing you can do, just like in racquetball, is you can dodge so that your opponent can shoot over your head. It's a courtesy thing. If you've never played racquetball, you have no idea what I'm talking about. And it's close, right? There's, you know, if you look at the death spam, the green to red ratio isn't terrible. The good thing is that these are the enemy's best troops. They'll be out in front. I can't remember what tiered units we did here for both sides. We do the same for each battle. I think they have tier 3 and above. But once they start reaching tier 3 units, this might really work. These guys might start raking. It's very fringy, to say the least. But it's also not bad. And very importantly, the enemy's not zerging through to where I am. I've never once had to move. So we're in a pretty secure location here. I've saved some infantry to reinforce these lines. Again, I want to shove them right next to that guy's house. We're thankful to him for using his house. Thank you for letting us use your house to defend the city here. And there's a good amount of archers that are in the palace that are shooting. It's kind of right on the edge of a successful mix. Like if this was, a bowl of chili, you were going to enter a competition. That your brother made or something, and he wanted to let you, he was asking your advice, and he said, be honest, what do you think of my chili? You'd say, it's really good, but maybe it's not going to win, right? Like that's kind of how I feel about this. That's the best analogy I can give you when I'm feeling sick. Now, 3/4 of these archers can't shoot. There's a couple guys way up at the castle that can shoot, but there's a good amount of archers ripping through there. And this new square configuration is working better. What we did is move that one on the right back a little bit. There's a lot less guys attacking it, and they're zerging this one on the left, and there's a lot more crossfire now because the other square is not in the way. This is working. This is going to work. So, you guys want a highly unorthodox way to defend this city. There you have it. Right? You could auto-defend, and you're probably going to win 3-1. In a lot of cases, unless the walls are down or something like that. But you could just, even if the walls are down, you could use this defense here. I'm not sure the AI can defeat you 3-1. It looks like we're going to easily repel their forces. I'm just watching arrows sail over my head at a fast rate here. And as I predicted, as the enemy started running into their weaker troops here, it's turned, the death spam has turned incredibly green. It's just green, 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 and then there's a couple 3 reds, and then there's 20 more green deaths as the enemy gets mass executed. They're starting to come up with shock troops too. That's not going to work. Eventually there'll be sharpshooters. That'll be interesting to see how their shields do, but I don't think it's going to matter. That 30 guys there hanging out to, we'll say it's Abdullah's house. Abdullah's house is the MVP for this battle here. He's got that nice post and the bench where the enemy can't fully surround him. Some people might say it's an exploit. Sure, that's fine. You don't want to do this, don't do it. You're watching the channel, right? We're not doing blatant exploits where we bug out the enemy or fight battles with archers where as soon as we're out of ammo, we retreat and run to the edge of the map and shoot them and then retreat. We're not doing shit like that. Now there's the first guy to make it through, the first enemy body that made it out of the maelstrom. The rest of them are just mass executed in the hallway, and it's not just successful, but this strategy was highly successful. I'm actually charging here with the division because I want this to end. I would say we're going to have at least half of our troops when this battle is over. I might have charged them too early. You can add those casualties sort of back to the list here, but I think almost anybody who plays Bannerlord understands that this was a successful defense. I'm getting killed here in fast speed. We'll just flip out to the RTS mod. There's a stream of sharpshooters coming in to execute it. Now it's low-tiered crossbow, and this battle's over. Wait, look at the power bar, right? We could just flat out charge. I can't believe the enemy hasn't routed yet. And there you have it. We're pushing a 5-1 KDR, over a 5-1 KDR actually, 900 kills, 160 dead with this unusual defense. And I like it, right? Sure, is this how you want to play Bannerlord? That's up to you, right? Maybe you fucking think this is amazing. Maybe you think this is stupid. Don't do it then, right? That's the beauty of choice in life. is that you have this option. If you want to defend QASIRA for yourself, maybe you do a combination, right? Maybe you do a wall defense, and then you eventually fall back and do that courtyard defense. I'm just happy to share that with you, and of course, we're happy to succeed here on the channel. I'm here to help you guys succeed, and if you follow that model right there, you should have some success, right? Make sure your archers are far enough so they don't aggro the enemy, get the square configuration down, have a shock troop division or an infantry division ready to slam the door, and live happily ever after. Right? I was going to say something vulgar. We'll skip it today. All right. Do you want to see more from this series? You want to subscribe? I appreciate you fellas. Hit that like button on the way out. And I will see you friends next time.